Yes. Yes, Monica, you can start now.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. I am delighted to welcome you all to our online session on Startup Ecosystem Enablers. This workshop will undoubtedly be very interesting and we will all benefit greatly from it. So let's have a look at what our today's session is all about in a nutshell. Startup ecosystems are popping up all across the country and the world with varying levels of success. India has become the third largest startup ecosystem in the world after the US and China. A startup ecosystem is an system of community service providers that support the growth of startup in a particular geographical area. Good startup ecosystem is always start with great ideas which turn into great businesses. Going forward and into the future, we would seriously need to think about building super platforms over features and loads of wisdoms over just interesting visions. The best idea and the best talent are useless without the capital to fund their vision. So, the enablers are the people or organizations make it possible for the ecosystem players to do their job. The enablers which facilitate the growth of startup ecosystem includes the accelerators, incubators, investors, universities, mentors, and government bodies. So in this session, we will discuss them about in detail. So now I would like to request our Honorable Principal, Dr. Rajashree Patil, sir, to give the opening remarks and welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Uh, at the outset, I bid a warm welcome to Rajashree Jain madam. Uh, Today, she is going to have her deliberations on startup ecosystem enablers. And well said that in India is the third largest startup ecosystem in the world after US and China. And soon, I'm sure that with the rate how these startups are coming up, we will be ahead of these countries soon. Uh, all of us knows about the unicorns, and I think last year almost 44 unicorns have been there amongst almost above 80 unicorns, and that is the biggest achievement of this startup ecosystem in India. And uh, this was not possible without the enablers, and most of the startups which were from the finances or e-commerce or education, but there is a little gap in the healthcare sector startups, and I'm sure with the efforts of different enablers, these healthcare system startup will soon be there. Uh, as a part of our IIC ongoing sessions, we have arranged this session, and I'm really happy to share with Rajashree madam that our IIC is taking efforts in grooming our students in different aspects of innovation, startup ecosystem, incubation, pre-incubation, and prototype, and so on. With today's deliberations, I'm sure my students will get benefited with what different Am I audible?
Yes, so now you're audible.
Yeah. Okay. I got a call, and sorry for the disturbance. And I'm sure that today's session will be of great help to my students. And with these remarks, I once again welcome Rajashree madam, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation. And thanks a lot. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for inviting me.
Just a minute, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Today we have with us Dr. Rajashree Jain, ma'am, Professor, Symbiosis Institute of Computer Studies and Research, Pune. Now, I would like to request today's guest, Dr. Sharani NPC, ma'am, to introduce today's Dr. Rajashree Jain. Over to you,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So as Monica just mentioned, Dr. Rajashree, uh, oh, yeah, am I audible now? I had a call now. Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are on.
Yeah, Dr. Rajashree Jain is a professor at Symbiosis Institute of Computer Studies and Research, Pune. She has more than 25 years of experience in teaching, research, and academic administration. She has been a meritorious student all along and was a National Merit Scholarship holder, a rank holder, and has received a gold medal for securing first rank during her post-graduation. Her research areas are in the areas of microwave techniques. Her research areas are microwave techniques. Just a minute, please. Antennas. Oh,
Ma'am, it's okay.
extremely sorry.
No, ma'am, it's okay. We are doing multitasking, right?
Areas are in the areas of microwave techniques, antennas, optimization, nature-based algorithms, AI, sensor network, IoT, data analysis, entrepreneurship, and education. Wow, man, hats off to you. Past several years, she has been working as an active volunteer to serve IEEE Pune section in various capacities. She currently holds the secretary position at IEEE India Council and vice chair TEM's IEEE Pune section. I guess this is only a very brief biodata of Madam, and I guess many more achievements have not yet been mentioned. So, ma'am, we are honored to hear from you, and the dice is all yours, ma'am. Please take over. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yes, ma'am, very much.
Yes, yes, yes. So let me share my slides.
Yeah.
Oh, this whole share. Okay, doesn't matter. So is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. So just in case of bandwidth issues, I might switch off my video right now. It seems is okay. So yes, good afternoon, one and all present here, and it's a great honor for me to be there amongst all of you and to discuss on a very favorite topic of mine, which is startup ecosystem, especially considering the enablers that we have around us these days. As Monica and Dr. Patil already brought out many of the things that I thought of putting in quick facts of startups. And I am absolutely of the opinion, yes, very soon we should be surpassing the two countries which are ahead of us in the creation of startup ecosystem. As Madam has already introduced me, I am Dr. Rajashree, working with Symbiosis Institute of Computer Studies and Research. This is my 19th year. So next year I'll be completing 20 full years. So why am I here in the field of entrepreneurship? So I thought So in my introduction, I didn't give much of it to ma'am, just to explain, because I thought so it is important to note the enablers long back, not just now I'm saying. So that means in the year 2007 is when we started at Symbiosis, which we call as SICSR. That's my institute. ECEL called as ARSH, which was under the umbrella of National Entrepreneurship Network. So it was the year 2007, remember. So now we are almost past, 2022 is half of it is already over. So that means about 15 years before we initiated these activities way back in our campus, and it's going every year strong year on year. So that was one enabler is what I thought I have to introduce you all of you to this concept of entrepreneurship. And there was no looking back since then, because they gave us so many opportunities. One such opportunity was to capacity build the teachers. So I was one of such opportunist, I would say opportunity, maybe privileged faculty member who could train under their various programs. So I got certified by National Entrepreneurship Network, STVP. STVP here is Stanford Technology Venture Program in association with IIM Bangalore. So it was such a prestigious certification program, and we could learn so many things and started implementing them on campus back that time. So going further, they also offered us the Goldman Sachs Teach the Trainer or create 10,000 women entrepreneurs. So that was also another association which through NEN I could complete, and it was meant for startup mentoring, and it was under NEN, London Business School, and Goldman Sachs. So I am one of few certified professionals under this association in Pune. So we have had a couple of colleges. Even I remember Sinhagad Institute of, I think College of Engineering was part of it that time. And we had many other reputed institutes and faculty members working with us in getting these, capacity building, like, because you teach one teacher, so she or he will always be continuing to train many students. So many such activities, which in association with my other initiative, which is IEEE, I have carried out so many activities on entrepreneurship back on campus. If you see some photographs, the first photograph was a hackathon that we have had using number of colleges, participants you can see. We could also have outreach programs, etc. So that was the relevance why I am here today to discuss the startup enablers. So that means it's not a new thing or anything. So that means the enablers are there since long. So only thing now, because of various the current proactiveness of the current government and having so many initiatives like Startup India, Digital India, Skill India, believe me, this is really helping people getting awareness, and then looking towards the startup ecosystem has become very, very positive these days. So that was the relevance of me being here. So within the given time, so I have set up this kind of an agenda for today's session. Like very quickly, we'll see what, why, and how of the startup, and few quick facts, which half the task of mine is already been covered by Monica and Patil sir. So then we'll look into detail like startup ecosystem and who are the organizations whom we can approach, who can help us with startup activities, and then closing by with wrap up and any question and answers. Who don't know these things? If you see, I especially searched for pharmacy related. PharmEasy is a very upcoming startup. If you search, they have already received a number of, kind of awards, as well as huge funding to scale up their, venture. You have any field, like sir was talking about healthcare. Even healthcare is now, thanks to the COVID, I would say, like it's a booming area. So AI in healthcare, multidisciplinary startups, especially using healthcare, health as one, health and fitness, I would say. There are many such startups which are coming in, like Cred, many of us know. Swiggy, I think these days we all are dependent on it, right? Nika, many of you must have used. Insurance, Digit Insurance is another similar startup coming in. So in the making, there are such many startups which are already booming in. We are already third in the list in the whole world in creating the startup ecosystem very prominently. So who don't know about this? I think all of you must have already watched Shark Tanks, and I'm 100% sure you will recognize some of these people were there as sharks on the Shark Tank, right? Aman Gupta, Nitin Kamath, and Upgrad was one of the sponsor of this Shark Tank, the whole show itself, right? So I thought, like, we know all of many of them. So they are the influencers to us to use this ecosystem very efficiently. That's the reason I thought, let me put them here, and maybe we feel proud when we look into these youngsters. I mean, painting the picture very nicely everywhere as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. So I don't want to go by book, but what is a startup? So like from legal point of view or from Indian startup initiative point of view. So it is important to note, not every organization, like you must have learned if you have an entrepreneurship as a course. So probably people learn like who is an entrepreneur, who is a manager, and who is an employee, what is the difference. So those things we keep learning, right? So in such cases, when you see what is a startup from legal point of view, so it's just like any other organization, right? Who create values. What do these organizations do? Actually, they sell the value, isn't it? Like if at all you think of having a startup, what does it mean? So you are selling value. It could be in the form of a product, it could be in the form of a service, it could be a combination of both, isn't it? But nothing beyond it. So it is either service or a product or a combination of both of it. So that means when you as an individual or an organization are doing this, can you be called as a startup? Yes, for sure. But from legal point of view, so there are certain limits. You'll be called as a startup if your registration as a company, like private limited company, partnership company, so or even limited liability partnership company, whichever format you might take, but that format has to be within these many years. And this is essential provided you want to take up the benefits from the government. Otherwise, you are absolutely, and you are already a company, you own your company, you are an entrepreneur, you are contributing to the economic development of the nation. So remember biotech. So this could be one pharmaceuticals, pharma related. I mean, many of the technology ventures can belong to this. And for this, there is a concession of total 10 years. It can be in any of those early 10 years of your setting up of the company. And your turnover is limited to 25 crores. If what does that mean? Can it be less? Yes, it can be less. But if it is more, you just cease to be called as startup, but you are an enterprise. So that's a small hairline difference between an entrepreneur or entrepreneurship or a startup from legal point of view. So anyone who starts his own venture, we can always call them as startup. Legally, this needs to be understood. But mind you, again, so like if you starting a company for people like I mean first generation entrepreneurs, it is always a challenge. But there are already enterprises like the whole industry. If you look into in India, is all made up of Tatas and Birlas, and these days the Reliance, etc. So for them, starting another company is not a big deal, right? They can spin off and start another company, but that will not be considered as a startup from Indian legal point of view. So that means this compliance, this beautiful support given to first generation entrepreneurs is absolutely laudable from government of India. So already Monica spoke about like government needs to support. What else? I mean, see, you can see you are called as a startup if you are in any of this. So what benefits do I get out of which? So there are hundreds of benefits if you visit startup startupindia.gov.in, you will see a number of benefits. So you have a taxation benefits, you have a special subsidized prices for your overheads. Like it could be, you may get a space in SEZ area, special economic zones. So there are a number of benefits that are available, and these are made available by the government for you in case if you take that risk to start your own venture. So that is a startup. First of all, why do you think, or we think we should start up? So like if you consider the Savasa crore, so that was again a old kind of saying of our Prime Minister ji. So we are more than Savasa crore now. So 135 crore is what I feel like right now. So that means for these many people, from where do you find? I mean, give jobs. So that means it is not always giving the jobs. It is always also to create job creators, isn't it? Not always making job seekers, but is it possible for us to create job givers? So that means that is the major agenda. So that can help, therefore, to make your talent stay within your country, contribute to your country's economic development, and that's the broader agenda. And the other agenda is see, even if it is being given to you, like the whole plate is full of resources to you, end of it is the person who has to eat. It is dependent on the person's capabilities to consume this research, and this happens only when the talent is focused on using the technology, right, using innovation, reaching the market soon, building very, what is it called, successful teams, and then only it is possible for all these people to contribute to the economic development. So, and these days this is abundantly shown in those some few pictures which I had shown in the initial part of this presentation. So I mean, enterprise building has become kind of a buzzword these days. So there is no stigma attached, like when we used to start this way back in 2007, which I mentioned. So around 2006 onwards, I think 2000 exact year 2005 and onwards, I remember discussing about introducing entrepreneurship as part of course and all. So that time it used to be like, like you may laugh now if what type of activities we used to have. So I remember having the first activity as a debate to say whether entrepreneurs are born or made. Like, and the whole crowd, the audience used to be towards born. So entrepreneurs are born, not made. But today there is no such discussion that happens, because the education system are the enablers that are there to create entrepreneurship ecosystem is so strong that you can make entrepreneurs, which is very much possible. So why startup? The end result is, like it is for the economic development, not only for the entrepreneur himself, it is to his family, his surroundings, his community, and nation as a humanity as a whole. Rather, I would say it has to be humanity as a whole. And this is possible because we have a very great large talent pool who could use technology and reach to the market soon on the foundation of innovation. So how do then we do it? So, like teaching the how do we do it? I have written a book on it, like how to start a new venture. So the whole book can't be, I mean, it is the whole process. It can't be discussed in an hour or so. But I thought, let me put it in one slide. So I think slide also, if you look into it, is quite self-explanatory. So that means it always begins with a question mark. What you want to do? So do you really? It can be like, it can be based on what career you would like to choose, or how to you have an idea on how to reach the market. So this question mark is very meaningful. So this begins basically from this question mark. What is it that I have to do in a startup or in a business new venture creation? So that means basically it might start from an idea or an invention. Like there are communities and cultures. Like we say, like ideas. Everybody has hundreds of ideas. You just go and ask, like, advice देने के लिए बहुत लोग तैयार रहता है. So advice is nothing but ideas, right? As if all these solutions work, right? So when it comes for actual implementation, then very few people enter into it. So those who venture into this idea to invent that it creates some value to someone in the market, right? And how you can create that value to someone in the market is the whole crux or the backbone of your business. So I would see these three areas, right? So they will become a strong backbone for any business. So that means basically you must have an idea, you might have invented how this idea can be innovated to reach to market. So not necessarily all ideas are technology based, but remember these days without technology, idea may not be technology completely, but at least to run that idea, you will use technology support. So that's the reason you have both combination tech and non-tech area required to make a venture successful. So now who will have this idea? So, like it could be like you and me, right? A teacher and a student, or a group of students, or it could be a group of teachers, or group of teachers from different colleges. Like people can come together and they can be internally, so they all can be from Sinhagad institutes, or they can be one Sinhagad, another symbiosis, or it could be joint symbiosis. And I'm just taking examples here. So that means it is possible. Collaboration is essential because like pharmacy you said, so pharmaceuticals manufacturing unit, right? So is it enough these days? A lot of AI goes into making this manufacture. I was other day reading like all these medicines, like suppose your thyroid levels, first thing that they do is they measure this TSH, then they go into T3 and T4. Like T3 T4 levels and TSH levels are not same for every individual. But what do? They just give you a generic tablet, say thyroxine 50 mg le lo. So if this is in the range, but it may be suitable or it may not be suitable for a particular chemical. I mean, I would say like the whole body here is panchatattva, made up of that panchatattva, which is not nothing but combination of so much of chemistry and biology, and of course a lot of physics comes into the whole picture there. So that means so when you have this type of generic medicines, now a lot of research is happening in this area, wherein so individually how do we manufacture medicines for different diseases. It could be, they could be generic type of diseases, are very very specific also. So that means AI, if you train an AI module, and then AI can then suggest what amount, what chemicals. I'm not a pharmaceutical person here, but the single word that I want to use is customized medication is one area which I have seen many biotech groups working with me in IEEE. So what I mean to say is collaboration is essential to come up with your ideas, right? So and then you develop, like all these are not I mean new terms to many of you, right? Like you may have to then see you go to the market, right? You will use technology, internal, external. Again, you can join hands with others. So then you will release your product. It could be service or it can be a combination, right? So that is how you reach to the market. So while you reach to the market, if you see towards your right side of the screen, you need know-how of all of these things, right? So how to manufacture, what are the processes involved in the manufacturing, what are the functions, what type of technology, so how is the business form, is it a partnership, is it a limited liability, what is the strategy, so what is your vision, mission, goals, short term goals, long term goals, right? What's exactly is your business model, how do you operate day to day basis? So all these things needs will make you to set up one venture. So each of these could be spoken, discussed, and mentored at length. So when students to set up their entrepreneurship companies or new ventures, they come to me. So we actually do sessions with them in all these areas very very separately and one on basis. So basically, that is what all about how to set it up, right? So that what does that mean? Then what does an entrepreneur do, right? So at the end of it, he creates value, isn't it? So if you want to buy something, if you want to drink a cup of coffee, you have to pay 20 rupees. So don't you always question yourself, is it worth of it, right? So sometimes we question, so is it worth of it? Absolutely. So that means always value is important. So, and if value is convincing to customers, then only customers come to you. So that means this value comes from customers to your organization. Hence, customer centric focus must be there in entrepreneur's journey. So entrepreneur will therefore take his idea or her idea to market, keeping a focus on customer, right? So while he goes to, like, if you see this roadside tea stall, so do you think he has abundant resources with him? Definitely no, isn't it? So time is a major constraint, right? Within this time, because people are all jaldi de do bhaiya kind of type, right? Like 5 minute mein dena chahiye. Some people don't go to a big restaurant because it might take more time for serving, right? Chai to pini hai, chalo idhar jayenge. So that means time is one major resource. So many such resources are always constrained. Resources are never will and remember will never be available abundantly. Now, so if you look into the global warming, environmental changes, so there are. I mean, we say Earth is in ICU, right? On 5th of June, we celebrated this World Environment Day, right? So, what was the theme this year? So, only one Earth. Remember, for the current, the way we are using Earth's resources, the resources required for the current number of people on this Earth already ended on April 11th. So that means now from 11th of April till December, the calendar year, we are extracting more resources of our future. So that means one Earth is not enough. So from the calculations of these environmentalists, we already know the resources we already right at this point of time require 5 Earths. So that means remember, like it is so difficult to use those resources. They are already at scale. So that means when you have these resources and you leverage them, you know, like you don't know the certainty. So although you have leveraged, although you have optimized, is the success guaranteed? That's the reason we say entrepreneurs are the ones who take risk, right? So taking risks beyond security and chasing the uncertainty is a common feature of any of the entrepreneur. So while they do all these things, teams are built. Like look into the way Tatas have built. Look into the way even Sinhagad institutes are built, or even Symbiosis has been built. So it thanks to the teams. So that means the idea created by someone has now grown like an empire, right? So building teams and creating workable business models which others can very easily replicate, or they themselves can scale very easily. So that means this is very much required to have a startup. So when I have all these things, then you should see what is happening outside. So that means this is all internal part of it. So then we know enablers like the external enablers who will help you to take these forward and make a successful enterprise. So who don't know about this? This is a business model canvas. So this is how you have to be very clear about it, right? So what is the value proposition? How do you map, right? If you see, I will not get into the details. This is available source of this model canvas which we use is Alex Osterwalder's, and then if you have looked into the format, you have three major areas. So left side, right side, and the down portion except the center. The center is going to be the centric. So around this center, you have three areas. So to the right of this value proposition, to my right, okay. So this it is all expenses. So here you are. This is going to be you are going to use the resources to get your revenue. So that means it comes to you. So income is from this, right? And to get this income, you are going to spend. So you will spend on key resources, key activities, and you may have key partners, right? So that means the cost part of it is covered here. So because you invest, because you leverage your resources, you start getting revenues. So you should identify a number of areas through which you get your revenue streams, and then map your customer segmentation very, very perfectly with the value that you have created. So try and if you have any small idea, just open this or print such kind of formats which are available plenty, print it and then iteratively work on it. It becomes very, very clear to you to manage your startup. So this is very essential, a very nice model which has been very, very widely used. There are other number of business models available, but this business model canvas, I would say, is unique and has reaped benefits to many entrepreneurs who we keep mentoring. So startup, like when I already said, so you begin and you want to reach the market, right? So what are those stages of your startup? So this I took from a book. I think I missed putting the courtesy here. So if you see here, this is how you move in the startup area. So let me know how much time I have so that I should not exceed your given time. You can see there are a number of stages written here. So please make a note of them. So see here, 0, right? From this is where actually the commitment comes from the team. So before this, it is all in the negative. So remember at this stage where you are preparing, where you are setting your mission and vision, where you are ideating, conceptualizing, like all these stages, remember you are just pending. So there is no income to the startup team here at this particular point of time. Does that mean it is not important? This is the most important time of any enterprise or any startup, I would say, because this will then build a very, very strong foundation to establish and scale to come to this stage, right? So that means look into when do you begin? So generally with an idea, right? So idea which could be scalable or which has a value customer mapping very well done. Okay, and you are very much convinced that people will buy this, right? So it is at that point of time that you can then think and start your journey of startup timeline, right? So then you will strengthen your idea, right? You conceptually you will start strengthening your idea, and then you build like, oh, fine, I am going to start this company. This company is working in this particular area, so these are my customers. This is how I will start working, right? You will set therefore then your own goals. So you will create your own vision. You will then create your own mission statements and you start committed. So you when any individual or any organization shows that they are committed to reach to the market, that is stage 0. So before that, you are not at all considered. You are already a loss center. You are already a cost center. So that means show, prove that you are committed, right? So when generally people commit, so people generally commit once they have a minimum viable product. That means a prototype. So there is a prototype of the product or service is already available. Then you can always say, oh, fine. So this is minimum viable product and it can definitely go into the market. So it is at that point of time we can see, and slowly, like there are ups and downs, but you start moving in the market, right? So, and moving in the market means what? You got your first customer, maybe 100th customer. First customer has purchased your product or used your service and have validated it and then given testimonial. It could be in terms of just paying for your services, or it can be a real survey, validation in terms of giving a testimonial and bringing more customers to you. Any of those methods are the methods for validation, right? It is very much required at this point of time. So that means 0 to 1 is the stage where you don't internally look into, right? This is the stage where you focus on how do you convince your customer. But to come to this, you should be very, very clear here. So that means your customer is only your focus, right? So how will you satisfy your customer? So that's very important. So then, like it is from here, then you people get into the other. Until here, do you think you have to market? Generally, my answer is don't even think of it. Okay, so when you are in the negative stages, when you have a minimum viable product, your aim is to reach as quickly to the market as possible, as few customers as possible. But as customers start validating, it is time for you to think, take validation and marketing very, very seriously. So that's the reason if you see like cred, for example, right? So where all you remember cred looking into? The whole, I remember like 2020 or 2021 IPL. Okay, so cred used to come, cred advertisements used to come. Byju's, for example. So who is going to be a sponsor of the next year's Football World Cup? Any idea? It is Byju's. Like nobody, I mean, can believe this, but the World Cup football sponsorship has come to Byju's. So that means they are in this stage now. They're validating and want to scale high. So your most of your expenses here will go into scaling. So scaling in the scaling area, your expenses mostly go in branding. Okay, you want to brand yourself, make people know that you exist. Like Byju's is a success story maybe in India, but is it across? So how do you make it? Right? So only way is to showcase yourself. So you spend a lot of your resources in marketing. So here, if you see marketing research almost zero, but a lot of operations you may have to spend here. Okay, operationalization of all your internal things will be done between these stages. But here on, you will go on. So, like, so this is the timeline for a startup is in a nutshell, right? So, and like for each of these stages, you have a large amount of enablers around us who can help us at every stage externally. But inherently, remember, it has to come from internally. So you have to make your mind that you want to start, right? So somebody cannot push. So that push will not stay forever in the team. So that means it is the team's ability that will actually take you to this large scale. Okay. So this was in one of the research paper I found. So it's almost similar timeline, but very clearly written. So startup creation, early stage, and then expansion. Right? It is at these stages, like in the creation, the negative time period, you can call them as pre-incubation. So then you can take help of incubation. Then you also have a stage called as post-incubation. We'll come to see what exactly is incubation and etc. But how to is what this was the question. So that is what I thought, like I'll spend at least some time on the startup timeline, business model canvas, and the complete value creation and how to set up. So these three things are very important. So once you guys are okay in understanding this and then committing yourselves, you can definitely go forward. So that means, so what are the quick facts? Then why this buzzword startup these days, especially, like it is a flagship initiative of Government of India, right? So you have to be registered under DIPP, that is Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, is recognizing you, right? So for that, you may have to be Ministry of Commerce and other websites. You also have a number of no objection certificates. You may have to avail those things. So there is a very simple, transparent, easy to do processes that are set up these days. And yeah, earlier the time taken to start a company is we have not yet reached UK's time. Like in Ireland, you can start a company within a day. But here we have come down. This the time has almost, I think, 7 days. Also, there are examples who have started a company in 7 days. Also, that's a great thing. Like when, as I said earlier, way back in 2005 and all. So it was a difficult situation. It used to be like 3 months, 6 months, and irritating middle persons everywhere. So bureaucracy, it was difficult. So that process has been simplified. So that is one good thing about the major enablers from Government of India, I would say. So already Monica mentioned we are the third largest, right? So 44 have already received unicorn. Unicorn is a status which is offered, or it's a status of a company when you reach $1 billion revenue turnover, not the revenue, right? So it is then you are called as unicorns. So 44 is not a small number. It used to be single digits for so many years. Only since this COVID, I would say, the number has crossed double digits. So sometimes, you opportunities in adversaries, right? Like the adversity, the whole pandemic also has brought so many opportunities to us. So India is doing good, right? And many strategies are working very well. And why is it so? Only one thing I would say, that is because of ecosystem. Okay, so that's where we just did the first agenda point. So I took this from Wikipedia. So I found it is very relevant to all of us. Okay, so this is a quick single slide glance. So what all is there in as an enabler for startup ecosystem? So if you see like ideas, inventions, and research, right? So this has to become kind of inherent practices in people's lives. So not just when you are graduating or when you are in higher education, maybe this can start from early school levels also. So that means entrepreneurship these days is started and encouraged even in your early school levels as well. So that's the reason, like you are creating a very innovative future generation. The startups are there at different stages. We are creating entrepreneurs. We are creating entrepreneurial teams. We are therefore providing them support. If you see, there are many companies which, for example, Flipkart, right? You all know it's all old story. It's been started by an Indian IIT alumnus, right? But it has been now sold out. So what do then these people are doing? So when you see these entrepreneurs who have sold out their companies, they have already received huge amount of money. What do they do? So they actually put this money into again new ideas, right? So that means you are creating investors. So I also have had the opportunity to discuss with this Fanindra. Fanindra was one such entrepreneur who actually had a pain of traveling from Bangalore to Hyderabad a day before Diwali, and he was supposed to get a ticket. A sleeping coach or whatever you call. But it was so difficult for him. So, but he traveled without sitting area, so he could somehow sit in the aisle of the bus, and he could make that particular travel safe. But it is that incident that created, and he started that red bus. Okay, so red bus, now it is known to all of us. So red bus then has been acquired now by different business, but he got into that, and then he also got his share out of it. He was also CTO for that company for a number of years. What is he doing? So I met him in one of the university campuses where he has set up an incubation center. So that means where he is supporting more such entrepreneurs who would like to come up with such ideas and make them as reality. So that means, will he be only investor? Definitely no. He'll also be advising. He'll also be mentoring. So that means he himself is an entrepreneurial person. So other such entrepreneurial people will help more and more such people. So that means this ecosystem is such a chain, I would say, a cycle, I would say, which is helping each other. So it is all possible. Why? Because he could come back to his university where he was studying. He was, I think, he's a BITS alumnus. So BITS could give him opportunities to set up his incubation center. So universities have understood. Like as I said, way back in 2005, our university and similar other colleges in Pune realized it is now high time that we should have entrepreneurship activities on campus, right? So universities have accepted. So funding organizations are coming forward. Look into the Indian Pune, especially Pune scenario. So you have this persistent, like they are very persistent in supporting new entrepreneurs. So that means they do fund also. So you have a number of angel investors coming out of this organization. So there are service providers, like if you have very good ideas, big companies like Google, AWS, etc., do offer you credits for technology usage like cloud credits, etc. That is possible. That can be used. So there are a number of other support organizations because not everything required in a given organization needs to be done by the entrepreneur himself. You may be good in pharmacy, but you may not be good in marketing. In that case, can you take support from other organizations? You need support, right? So you can take such support organizations. So I am going to cover one research organization in Pune itself from SPPU. So these research organizations also do help us. Like NCL is one such area. ICER and NCL together are doing great things in so many different technology areas. So that means this is a beautiful picture which I found, and it is freely available on Wikipedia, which you can refer to. So these all are very truly enablers for us to build. So to put it in short, I thought like let me make it as a kind of infograph, like a startup. Then what exactly a startup do, right? Or what support as enablers to startup is required. You require people, you require support from government, and you need a lot of things from community. Government, I did not expand because without its support, this will not exist. So you need a lot of one-on-one support from these two, right? What about people then? So it could be individuals like you and me, right? It can be a team. So basically, what do we do as an entrepreneur? So we solve problems, right? And we are also very well versed in taking risks. So we are risk takers, we are problem solvers. Absolutely. And how do you do it? So because you have an enabling system from mentors. Teachers could be your mentors. I am an advisor to at least 3 such startups which are currently working. I was to many such startups who were there in the past. So that means I advise them on various things. It could be strategy. Sometimes it can be so simple. Now I feel, ma'am, like it is almost done. So I have covered now all states of India. What should I do? So I feel like now diversifying, right? So then we discuss like, would you be liking to diversify, or would you like to now see? It is not always new product development. It can also be new market development. You have already captured Indian market. Why don't you try in Singapore, or why don't you try in some other neighboring Asian nation, or some other countries like USA also, right? So we discuss and brainstorm and come up with ideas. So basically, and because then one such student had come, then I suggested, why don't you do yourself a program with some reputed university? So I connected him to Harvard Business School. So he did a program with Harvard, and then he came back and told, ma'am, it was so different, the whole methodology, and it really opened my eyes. And he's doing very well right now. So we can connect, we as mentors, advisors. I'm just taking my example as mentor and advisor. I know for sure in your institute also, you are having many of these people. So we do connect to so many people. So I know angels, I know kind of other investor networks. So you will be connected to such network. So because you need investors, right? So there are a number of type of investors. I haven't listed all of them, but like angels, 3Fs, like 3Fs is like friends, family funding is what it is called. Sometimes it is also called as friends and families and fools who invest in startups. But that used to be very old fool for that. But because these days it's quite a positive note, family and friends funding is very, very important. So 3Fs are very essential. So when you see the community, so that means as people, all these people will help build a startup. So that's the major element or enabler for startup, I would say. So the community outside, so these are all in the capacities of individuals I'm talking about. But what about in the capacities of organizations, in the capacities of, say, universities? So you do have that. So universities, right? Research parks, incubators, accelerators. So a number of them are now available. So as the minimum, basic minimum thing, you can have an e-cell. So you can start teaching entrepreneurship, innovation, creative problem solving techniques, right? As part of your curriculum. And if you are a particular domain, say for example, our institute is into computer studies. So we can have center of excellence in, say, open source softwares, our database systems, cloud systems, whatever is possible. So for you guys, it could be any of those pharmacy related areas. So that means, see that you can actually collaborate with others. So a lot of pharmacy information might require computing. So you may need a lot of machine learning algorithms to have those sequencing problems or search problems. In such cases, can you collaborate, right? So that is all possible when you create center of excellence, right? So that is absolutely possible. And apart from that, you also have these incubation and accelerator facilities. So now these days, this number has become too large, not to worry, but also to consider it as a concern, because what is the impact of them? That is also very essential to make. So you have public incubation facilities, private as well. Some are for profit, some are for not profit. Even every university end of it, like, it won't just remain as a community to support entrepreneurship. They are also coming up with their own incubation facilities these days. So I hope you agree to this enabling system, which is very, very positively available to us these days. And I'm sure you must have at least taken help from any 5 of these things that I have shown here. So then comes this government. So that is what I'm saying. So government is the backbone, the foundation. So because government is supporting, rest everything goes around it. Okay. So yes, so this is what we were already talking about: universities, research parks, incubators, accelerators. You can see here the actual pictures. So like university, our university has a entrepreneurship department, and we have a TBI, Technology Business Incubator. So this is SPPU Research Park, right? And you can go to ICER, you find this ICER incubation park. So this is ICER's picture. So I didn't find an accelerator program picture here. But like, there are a number of companies, big organizations like Intel. So this is Intel Capital's picture, which I could not cover it in that particular area. So they also act as venture capitalists. Okay, so there are so many who comes into different area. Intel looks into multidisciplinary because they want their processors, high-end, what is it called, embedded systems and high performance computing to be used by different domains, and healthcare is one major, right? And so they are in domain specific, different domain specific. Apart from that, there are groups who are specially meant for entrepreneurship, like TIE, the Indus Entrepreneur Group, National Entrepreneurship Network. So they have changed the name now. Earlier also it was by Wadhwani Foundation, but more or less known as NEN. But now you can see WF, that is Wadhwani Foundation. Pune is very lucky, fortunate to have this POCC. POCC has a database of more than 30,000. This data I'm giving for 2018. So they had more than that many number of startups over a period of, since 2004, since their inception, they had that collection of the data. Pune Connect, Pune Plug, there are many such areas wherein you can approach to the community to support you. So that means you will go to them. Is it because you want money? Because one question every entrepreneur or every startup will have in mind is, I have a brilliant idea, I want to start, but I don't have money. But believe me, like, money will come to you automatically, provided you are convincing value and a market fit, that MVP. Okay, and validation is there, then money will come to you. You don't even have to think about money until you are in this stage. Just look into here. So this is very important diagram, and it's a very old. It's from Hisrist book, entrepreneurship book. So if you look into here, this earlier when you were in that minus stage, like -1, -0, sorry, 0, -1, -2 stage. So it is all called as valley of death. You don't know whether you will be breaking even or not, right? So you are in this stage. So at this point of time, please don't take any loan. Don't ask for money outside. You can simply use angels, right? So angel investors is another concept these days. Angels are happy to fund you up to about 1 crore also in India, and it differs nationwide. Whereas, and again, those three apps which I spoke about. So use your own seed capital until you break even or until you have a validation. Okay. Once your validation is done, then you can think of scaling up. And when you want to scale up, you can actually look into external funds, right? So early stage, later stage, and there are VCs, venture capitalists, right? So who will fund different enterprises at different stages. So you may find early stage VCs, you may find later stage VCs, or you may then go to secondary offerings, that is directly to public market. So you may go as a listed on the stock market of your nation, right? So these are different floors, we call them as first, second floor, third floor, and then that mezzanine floor. And it is only when you are in mezzanine floor you should think of going into offerings. So some people do not validate them correctly, some may validate correctly, but there are again discussions there also. For example, the recent story of Paytm going public, right? So people say it's a success, some say it may not be a success. So anyway, that's a different story, it's a case study. But yes, it is at that stage they went into public. So that means early stage capital, later stage capital, initially it has to be your own capital. You bootstrap, you take it from your friends, you go to a fool and to get the money, or you have a angel. But try not get into trapping of funds here. And you don't need much of these funds. Only when you want to scale, only when you want to develop your market, then believe me, you will need these funds. Okay. So this is very important to make a note of it. And you should also see like revenue, right? So here, this y-axis here is revenue. So that means it's all in negative. So here it is 0. So 0 means what? You are getting that much of revenue where you are managing your cost. So that's called as your break even. So this stage is break even, right? So early break even is very much required in any of your business. So have that in mind, okay? And then see, then you can see constantly you are increasing. And when you are stable, like see your revenue is almost stable. Okay, that means now if you want to break this stability, you may have to cut. So that means you may have to go developing your markets. So that is when you will go in the public. So that means these are all available. So VCs and different type of alliances like acquisitions, mergers and acquisitions, that is also possible. So that's possible. So these are some of the incubators. Incubation basically is a facility, okay, and it is being set up by incubator owners. They could be private, public, or hybrid. So this is a SPPU research park. They also call themselves as an incubator. And we also, like Symbiosis Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, we also have a technology business incubator, TBI, supported by Department of Science and Technology. So what do they do generally? So I found this from SPPU, none other than the SPPU Research Park Director, Dr. Shaligram. So he was there as a speaker in one of our earlier sessions. So courtesy SPPU Research Park. So this picture. So they provide all of this. So and no, I mean other incubation facilities also provide the same things. What do they do? So they provide research facilities for investors, mentors, and industry. Any one of them can use this, right? So other incubation centers can also approach them, okay, and they can also use them. So what all things you get here? So you can get in a consultancy, you can get a space, co-working space, which we call. You may have projects on which you can work. So they might have already created center of excellences which you can use, right? So that means you have co-location for different companies. So that means one room, 6 tables, 6 companies. So initially that is what is startup, like you have to be lean startup. We call it as lean startup. You don't spend so much on the fancies, whims and fancies of the team. So you will keep everything minimum. So you are going to use a co-location facilities. So together, and even university will also input it. What will it input? It will input students, faculties, central instrumentation facilities. You have a computer system lab. Can it be used? Yes. Do you have finance department? Can they help us in the accounting, legal aspect, registration of a company, IT laws? Yes, they can. You need papers and you need research to know like similar ideas. Did they work earlier elsewhere? Yes, library will help you. So that means, see, it is at the center of university, commerce department ki next, if you have visited already. So it's a nice facility. So please visit sometimes. And they are doing all these things. So they are creating entrepreneurs, they're creating job opportunities. They have very good number of projects, right? So this is a model for SPPU's research park. This is the building, okay, which is, as I said, next adjacent to Commerce Building. So that is the incubation facility. So when to go to an incubation, and there is another buzzword called as accelerators, right? So are these the same? So I would say like not necessarily. So incubators are also themselves referred as accelerators, but I don't agree to this to an extent. But when to go to whom is also very much required. So what I would suggest is if you are already in the early stage of your venture and you want to scale up now quickly, right? It is time that you go to by basically an accelerator, right? So that means prototype testing, validation ho gaya hai. So then you need help to now scale, to develop new market, to expand, to diversify, jo bhi karna hai. So at that point, you are the right person. You are the person to go to an accelerator, right? But you have an idea, you still are struggling to come to break even. You want to validate yet. So in that case, you can go to an incubator. So faster growth requirement, I think accelerators provide you. So stability, testing, validation, I feel like incubators must provide. So, but both of them do exist. So same incubator might also have an accelerator program also, right? So it is possible that's the reason they call themselves as accelerators also. And to an extent, in a way, it is true as well. Even if you are in a validation stage as well. So, but then what happens is when you go to an incubation, so your company will accelerate, right? So that means you will now take a gear and then move fast. So that's from that angle, incubator can also be referred as an accelerator. So both of them, like training, mentoring, business support, all even selection of idea, all those things are provided by both of them. But physical space, not necessarily accelerator give you. The reason is because it's an accelerator program. You are already existing, and how to take you to mezzanine floor from first floor, right? So that means you are already having first floor. So from therefore, they may not very specifically talk about physical space. Okay. Seed funding you already would have had, but still, if you want need, you may use it from them. So open-ended duration incubators keep, but accelerator program is for fixed 6 months. You have to do this and go away. That's all. So you do have accelerator programs also. So I hope I am on time, and right at this moment, I'm coming to the last slide just to wrap up. So in a nutshell, in these 40 minutes, what we did is just to understood like it's very essential for a team or an individual or an organization to call themselves as a startup or an entrepreneur or entrepreneurship is to create value, right? So value creation is very important. Creating value from an entrepreneur, believe me, it has to be a mindset of the team, and who have tested their ideas to bring to market. They have used a lot of things like they have innovation, they have talent with them, right? They do have exhibited risk agility. They must have used multidisciplinary and approaches. They must have also been in collaboration and might have done R&D. So this value that is created can then be put in the ecosystem to test its validation and make a success story. So the ecosystem that can be provided is from our own homes to universities to so many other newer areas called as incubation, investors, technology incubators, access to basically access to resources. And so that means the basic value that the team has created now was added on value chain, right? So it's not only the person who will benefit, it could be the suppliers who are funding this, investors who are funding this will also get a value to themselves. So that means it's going to, the ecosystem will add value to the entrepreneur themselves and the ecosystem stakeholders also. So of course, government policies, community, culture equally plays a role, right? So none of the parents these days are worried if some graduate student comes and says, I don't want to take up a placement, but I want to start a startup, right? None of us would say no right now. But consider ourselves and going to our parents asking them, I'll start a venture, definitely there would have been a, I mean, concern, right? The concern is just for the security, for uh, for the reason when because of these entrepreneurs or entrepreneurship creates the uncertainty. So that uncertainty has really, I mean, faded now, I would say, because of the education, because of this enabling ecosystem. So this ecosystem is giving that kind of strength to the whole entrepreneurial community to build those success stories. So with this, I will stop here and see if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for this informative session. I request all the students to raise their hand, ask questions, and one by one we will take the question.
Yes, Vishaka, go ahead.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Is there special scheme for funding or the funding criteria for related to healthcare startup is different from the normal one?
Yes, I can see a lot of such call for research funds are available, especially in biotechnology area. And also there are schemes for women biotech area. Okay, so there are schemes.
Okay. And ma'am, one more question is there. Is there COVID impact on the startups?
So I can see like when sir said 41 unicorns in the last 2 years, the reason is thanks to COVID. In a, of course, not in a this sense, because see, people lost their livelihoods, whichever, whatever small or big they would have had. So there were no alternatives, right? And what they did, therefore, they must have started up, right? So they have started up. So that means number of startups have increased during COVID. So, of course, there were small and medium businesses which were already existing before COVID have impacted during COVID because, you know, like it was total lockdown for so many days. They were all closed. I have seen many of these small units not around us, right? Like a restaurant tha, and then suddenly when we came out of lockdown, I didn't find it because it was closed. So that has happened. Existing small and medium businesses got affected, but it was also a positive time to start new ventures, especially in the technology domain. you could see how well, I'm not sure right now, just a personal experience. Other day, I wanted to buy because some of the shops on Lakshmi Road are very popular and favorite of mine. After almost 2 years, I went, and then after coming back, I decided I will never do it again because I would prefer to buy it online, right? So because almost 6 to 8 hours I spent, and I brought hardly one or two. Then my daughter was saying like 1 hour if you sit in front of your screen, you will get everything home delivered, right? So that means, see, so many of these delivery businesses flourished like anything. So food, for example, like I remember one of my student way back in 2007 putting up like post, until food is delivered online, I will not stop. So we used to make fun out of it, but now it is a reality, right? Like look into say Swiggy, Zomato. I mean, so many of them, they have created jobs at the same time, at your own home, at your own convenience, and whatever, whichever hotel you want, you can order it, isn't it? So you should have just time and then patience, and you can really enjoy your meals. So I mean, some of these areas have really flourished like anything. Healthcare, I don't have to take an example because that was the only area which was so active during COVID.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, Sadhna?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, session was very wonderful. And my question is regarding with is there any registration procedure for the startup, opening the startup? And what is
So, ma'am,
exactly that?
yes. So, see, the registration process we as trainers generally don't go into because it requires certain legal support. So, we can always look into and do it. So, that means you have to be just have an idea and then register it as a partnership firm, or it could be even proprietor as well. But I think most of the businesses that may not be suitable for proprietor firm. So, you may have to have a registration as normal registrations, but you have to once you do that, then I had given you 2 3 areas when are you called as a startup. Okay, so you will be called as a startup if you have 3 areas like partnership firm, private limited, and limited liability, and then register yourself on Ministry of Commerce. I will share with madam the link also, that you have registered in this year, your company type is this one, and you are working in this area. Okay, so there is a long lengthy form which you have to fill. And then so then why you have to register as a startup? If you don't do it, don't you be called as a startup? You will still be called as a startup, right? You are still a company. But what is the difference when you do a registration on this Government of India startup portal? Then you get a lot of benefits. So I had actually skipped almost 10 benefits I have had written. So there is the tax exemption for you, and then there are subsidized prices for electricity, internet, water, and other areas. Then you will get at a very subsidized rate space, location, co-location space in SEZ areas, in case if you are into IT and ITES, and also industrial, what is it called? Industrial development, MIDC type of areas. So those benefits you get, and you are then connected, you will then be connected to their training programs, like they will train you, they will also support you, connect you to the funding agencies. Then you can apply through, suppose if you are in a biotechnology area, then probably they will connect you to say Department of Science and Technology, who can fund you for your area, so you conduct then research in those areas. So you are so these are called as grants. So grants are very helpful for startups because before your early stage, you can use those grants, like to develop your models, develop your, say, composition of chemicals. So because you have to test it. So, and you want to test it using your money, it will be, I mean, a lot of resources, isn't it? But if you are getting grant from Government of India, Department of Science and Technology, so it is so good. You are using that, you're testing it, and you're proving your idea, and you are building that MVP, minimum viable product. So you can make use of all these benefits provided you register yourself under their portal. But before you register yourself on their portal, you have to be a company, which I just mentioned, few of them. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Actually, one more question. That process is the different for startup enablers?
That process is it difficult for startup enablers you are calling? You're saying? Sorry, can you repeat?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, you said the registration process for the startup
Oh, no,
actually.
ma'am, it is not
that
at all. It's not
same
at all
the
difficult.
startup enabler?
The process is not difficult, provided things are in place. Okay.
I'm not asking regarding with the difficult and easiest one. I'm asking regarding with the different process for the startup enablers. Registration process, ma'am.
Registration process, I mean, so these are the three registration process enablers as far as I'm concerned with. One is legally you have to register yourself as a company, okay, private limited, partnership, etc. Then register yourself on the startup portal. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Some details I may not be clearly knowing because, as I said, like we don't generally cover this legal process because these are very dynamic. You know, like they are not static. Whatever started yesterday, today it is the same. I'm not sure. So as government changes, as ministers change, so there are some changes that come in. So we have to be up to date on the visit the website, read it, and do it. But it's kind of like mechanical thing. It is doable. You got it, ma'am. Like you just have to go visit the site and understand the whole process.
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Thank you.
afternoon.
It was really very nice session. I will definitely agree one of your statement about registration of a company in India and Ireland. I had actually had an experience with that. It got registered. My company got registered in a day in Ireland from
Wow,
UK.
very nice,
But
very nice.
to do it in India, actually they asked me to come. But that was in 2017. Now I think it's changed now. But yes, definitely it was difficult previously to register company in India.
Yes,
So one of my question here is like you mentioned about so like we begin with the unicorn. So we were talking about Swiggy, or if you talk about Byju's, we are saying they are unicorn because they got the revenue, they got the evolution of that range, but they are in the loss. So how are we actually? I mean, they are unicorn, but if they are in the loss, how are we taking it further? What is we can think about it, because as we see about Paytm, it can happen with unicorn as well. If they go IPO, they can actually have losses. People can suffer from losses.
So very appropriate observation that you have in mind, sir. So I was also having reading Swiggy and Zomato's statements, financial statements after March. You know, like it was there in the media. So both of them are loss-making companies, isn't it? So, but see, when the turnover is when you are calling someone as a unicorn, yeah, the turnover matters. So that based on the turnover, they are called as the unicorn. So doesn't mean that company is really successful or really doing great. But at the same time, you should also, of course, it may be a loss-making company, but has it not created the wealth in terms of intangible wealth, I would say. So it has that kind of foundation now. So many users, so much of intangible wealth that it has created. So even if another company comes and takes it over, they can really work with it and make it successful. That's my take. So unicorn is just a name given to a company whose turnover is this much. There is a threshold value. So this threshold value also is dynamic. Right now, it is something like $1 billion or something, right? So that is my take. So not necessarily companies are successful. Your examples are absolutely right, sir. I agree. Paytm also, that's the reason I said Paytm went for IPO. How successful it was, we are not we are not sure, isn't it? Because people, I mean, there were so many reports. Was it really successful? We don't know. Only after some days we will come to know that this is the case study. And it becomes a case study to teach for us as teachers. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So next thing that you showed the graph about startup timeline.
Yes, sir.
So I will say that my company is in the validation and scaling. It's in that the graph which comes down. After validation, it is coming down, and then you have your scaling. So I will say I am there. So what is the suggestion you can give to a bootstrapping company who has raised a pre-seed investment and he's not going for seed investment and they are planning to go to Series A now directly?
So you are trying to go to which type of
Series
funding?
A.
Okay.
Series A.
Okay.
So yeah, we are bootstrapping at the moment, but we are planning to go for Series A directly. And we are in that position where the validation is done and now we want to scale up. So the graph is down.
So graph, it is down in the sense it won't directly go down. It is stable. You are saying, isn't it?
Yeah,
now you want to actually cut that stability. So that means, are you really in fund requirement stage, sir? Because we have to understand a lot of things. So at this stage, what is your market capture, right? So did you really reach the market which is in your reach? Which is in your reach? Or is it possible within the same bootstrapping model, would you be able to replicate somewhere else within the seed funding and with those 3F type of funding policies, right? So because see, the moment you think of external funding, it won't come without what is it called? Without some lockers to it, isn't it? So they will also, it will either come on an equity based or equity and share based or profit sharing based, isn't it? So if you are open for it, then go for it. And for I think going at that level, like you should be you as an entrepreneur should be very strong at heart also, because it is your baby, isn't it? When you want to grow, so probably you will have others say also into your venture. And I hope like you are at that matured stage, you should definitely go for whatever funds are which are suitable for your domain.
Also, we were just in the morning today, we actually, Principal Sir and I were discussing about this startup enabler. And we are also at the SOP have starting now Center for Drug Discovery and Development. So what will be your suggestion to us as a new enablers who are entering in the area where we want to give our students that, mentoring and all the information which they will need at this stage in our area?
Sir. So one area I would suggest is how technology can help you drug discovery related thing, how technology involvement. Second, I would say like you can explore opportunities for collaboration, sir. And you are in a city wherein you have National Chemical Laboratory, right? Have you associated, do you have any association with them, sir?
I got association in Venture Center.
Venture Center, right? So through Venture Center, only if you can approach NCL also, in case if you need any subject, because you yourself already may be excellent in your domain, but collaboration with such kind of centers will be a plus thing, sir, so that you can explore. Second, I already discussed about this SPPU research park. So if you would like me to connect to Shaligram, sir, because they are already having and incubating. And if you are already having some startups working in this area, like as you said, you already have your own startup. So you can also get connected there, because I have seen one company, 9 companies are getting incubated under them right now. When I visited sometime in March or something. So one was a pharmacy company. So that means they might have this area also. It is always good to explore that as well. So I would say like collaboration with other incubation centers, like you can also collaborate with our own Symbiosis Center and Incubation Center, National Chemical Laboratories, ICER. So some and then for your computing facilities, like you might need high-end, high-performance computing. So probably there are associations that you can do. You can also work with Tata Research Center. Tata Fundamental TIFR also can be of great help for you. So you should explore, I would say, like collaboration. And then you should create some success stories, 1 or 2 success stories, believe me. So you are, I mean, considered as a model. So your focus should be now creating those success stories.
Thank you, madam. Thanks, and definitely I will be happy if you could connect me to SPPU Research Park. So
Definitely,
I will run this to madam, and I will contact you regarding that. Yeah.
Definitely, sir. Definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I guess Principal Sir would like to ask some questions, sir.
Actually, no questions as such, but just Madam pointed out the connection with some organizations like NCL or ICER. We do have such connections, but not for startup and such activities. We do have connections for basic research and those kind of things. So I hope I think that is a good suggestion that we need to collaborate. And one more thing, you pointed out biotech is coming strongly in the startup. And in Siagadh, we have this biotech departments in number of colleges. We will see to it that we get connected to them. So that was a good suggestion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And your session was fantastic, madam. You you gave a thorough
so because generally we don't cover the registration part of it because these are dynamically keep changing and they are very legal. We are not legal experts. So that is where I felt like Sadhna ma'am's question, I was not able to handle it because it is herself who has to sit on the website and look into details and probably approach the legal department to help her.
Actually, in the morning, we checked whether we could register as an enabler on that government site, but we are not sure if without being a company, if we are able to register it or not. We have to see that.
No. So you as a university or something, you can definitely do that. I will share you the link, sir. As a university, we are there as partners, like mentors and advisors. We can do that. And there are these the kind of FDPs, capacity building workshop funds, etc. also keep coming from them. So we can apply and then join them. Atal is what they called as Atal Faculty Development Programs, AICT related something. I think I have some links, sir. I will share with madam.
Yes, sure, madam. And thank you very much. And we will remain in
Definitely,
contact.
Sir. Yes.
Yes.
Sir. Thank you so much.
I think.
Thank you, ma'am.
Badesa wants to ask something. Yeah, fine. Okay. I have a question, ma'am. So I had a friend who stays in London, and they have these clubs, okay, where all those who have ideas can just go out there, throw their ideas, and see whether that idea is viable or not. Okay, and then go ahead. So do we have such kind of clubs?
Yes, ma'am.
in
I
Pune?
spoke about POCC, no? Pune
Yeah,
Open
POCC.
Coffee Club. It's called as
Yeah.
Pune Open Coffee Club, and its first inauguration happened from our institute. So this because we are located in Model Colony, na? Center of the city and all. So and we used to have their sessions very regularly on campus. So I have attended many of their sessions. These days after lockdown, I haven't heard from them, but it was a great platform. And then so all these entrepreneurs would come, just discuss like this is our idea, and so that kind of environment was there. It is possible, ma'am, and they are there in Pune. And these days even that is also commercialized, by the way. Because so people find like ठीक है ये idea लेके then we will take it ahead. ऐसे भी कर सकते हैं. So you have to be careful.
True. So it has its own risk. So I
Yes.
was just seeing POCC as you mentioned. I just checked on the Google and I saw that they are mostly online based or physically we can have like.
They used to have until 2018 and all. They used to have physical meetings, different
Okay.
places of Pune, and different directions. Sometimes Viman Nagar, sometimes Model Colony, sometimes Kothurud, etc. Nowadays,
Okay.
I have not heard from them. I think I should check with. It was Ashish Belaguli, if I remember earlier. I don't know now
Okay.
who is associated with them.
Okay. Okay.
It
Fine.
was a community now started with so many people. I mean, that itself speaks their success. Yes.
Right. So I can say that here in Pune, we have the startup ecosystem enablers as Symbiosis and Research Club SPPU. Yeah,
Then ICER, NCL Venture Center,
I, uh,
and
yeah,
then
Venture
I think
Center. Any more
MIT.
private, anything?
Yes, ma'am. MIT.
These are
So
all
there are.
academic.
Yes, yes, yes. So I remember a person called as R.R. Dasgupta connecting with us. They had an ideation platform. So they were also looking into like whoever is the student who can come together and then ideate and take it forward. So that was kind of another incubation center. And many companies are coming up, ma'am. Like one company I know like is Rubyscape. They have come up with some data science related platform, and they are going to colleges to create that center of excellence, and along with that they will mentor students to start their own company and get revenue for their company itself. So there are a number of private players, and I think Persistent is also very much into it. Okay, so they also create. So those whoever I mean conducts these hackathons, you can have an eye on them. So who are the collaborators? So somewhere they also support us. So Smart India Hackathon and these things, like so they are the major places where
Yes.
innovation happens, and then collaborators take it forward.
Yeah, right, right. I think there is one question from Vishakha. You had raised your hand, Vishakha. Do you want to ask some question again?
Yes, ma'am. One last question, ma'am. If there is startup regarding to algorithm, so can I copy the data from the already existing startup, or there are the certain criteria to copy their data?
So see here, first of all, I did not go to that area of intellectual property. So these days, GDPR, intellectual property are very, very stringent, right? Even from your own internet service provider also, if you download from any of those sites which are called as infiltrating type of, or what is it called as hacking type of, you will be caught. So therefore, you have to be very, very careful as far as copying of data or using of algorithms for your own companies. So you cannot do it until and unless you have permissions. Right? Your question is on softwares, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So please be careful. So open source softwares are always promoted. Needs to be. I mean, I promote them for student community because we don't have to pay to that. Right? Free and open source softwares you have to see. Otherwise, we'll all be caught. Even for making these posters and all other things, I keep asking my students, don't go to Photoshop. So Photoshop is a paid version, right? So you cannot, and people have cracked versions in their laptops. So it is very easy for the internet world these days to identify whether you have a legal copy or an illegal copy. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to thank Ismail sir for connecting us to you, ma'am. And
Yes, I should also thank him. So he was asking, ma'am, will you be ready? I said, I'm okay. I'm ready. Entrepreneurship, I'm always ready.
yeah,
We were together in many things, and he has taken it to very great heights, ma'am. He has grown into
yeah,
that area. So I, with my, like we have our own responsibilities. So we
yeah.
are.
We have a faculty with us, Madik madam,
Mhm.
and she is connecting us to all symbiosis giants, I guess. So we are, able to, connect with you all.
So from whatever way we connected, I'm happy I was here. Thank you for this opportunity to Patil sir, yourself, and also to Ismail. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I would like to now ask Monica to take over. Monica, you're muted.
Okay. Sorry. At the end of this workshop, I would like to give the vote of thanks. On behalf of Sinhagad College of Pharmacy, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to all present here who spare time from their busiest schedule to grace the occasion. I would like to thank Dr. Rajashree Jain ma'am for guiding us so well. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts. This will surely encourage us in our future events. I would also like to thank Professor Amen Navle, Founder President, Dr. Mrs. Sunanda Navle, Founder Secretary, Mr. Rohit Navle, Vice President, Sinhagad Institute, Mrs. Rachna Navle, Astekar, Vice President, Sinhagad Institute, Dr. Rajesh P. Patil, Sir, Principal, Sinhagad College of Pharmacy. I would also like to thank the activity coordinator for today's IIC session, Dr. Risharani Ranpise ma'am. I would also like to thank the Dr. Sadhna Raut ma'am, convener IIC Sinhagad College of Pharmacy, for arranging this session. And last but not the least, I am thankful to all the faculty and students who have attended this session. Now I request everyone to switch on the camera to click a photo. Okay, thank you. Now with sirs and ma'am permission, I would like to conclude today's session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
I'll
ma'am.
take your leave, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes.